Endless Waterfall by Pilgrim. If you love grit, tension, and a romance worth fighting for, Endless Waterfall delivers. Chapter 6. A Christmas of Love. Christmas morning arrived on the estate with birdsong and the rich smell of baking drifting from an open window. The sun was already bright by 9, slanting through the lace curtains of the main farmhouse, pooling on the floorboards like golden silk. The air was warm, filled with the soft jingle of Angie's old Christmas playlist. Bing Crosby and Mariah Carey taking turns like uneasy housemates. Joe stood just inside the kitchen, barefoot, holding a chipped mug of coffee. He wore a clean white t-shirt and navy work shorts, both gifts from Angie moments before, already part of him like they'd always belonged in his drawer. His hair was still damp from a quick shower, pushed back messily, and his usual guarded look had softened into something closer to peace. The kitchen looked like a department store exploded in it. Garlands, fairy lights, red ribbons, a centerpiece of pine and dried orange slices on the table. Angie was at the stove, humming off-key, wearing a red apron that said "Kiss the cook, only if you've got coffee." She turned, hands on her hips, and smiled widely. "You look good, Joe. Like someone who owns more than 2 shirts." Joe laughed under his breath. "Didn't know I needed this much cotton in my life. Well, now you've got 6 pairs of socks, 3 new tees, 1 flannel shirt, a hoodie, and proper summer shorts that don't look like hand-me-downs." Angie beamed, clearly pleased with herself. Joe ran his hand over the fabric of the shirt again, still caught off guard by it all. "Thank you, really. This is a lot." Angie waved him off. "Oh, hush, it's Christmas. You're family now. No one spends the morning here empty-handed." That word, family, landed in Joe's chest like something heavier than he was ready for. Not bad, just unexpected. Robert was already seated in the lounge, reading, glasses perched low, the Manawatt Standard open in his lap. He pretended not to be interested in the wrapping paper explosion across the floor, but every now and then his eyes flicked up over the paper. Robert cleared his throat from behind the newsprint. "By the way, Joe," he said, voice gruff as always, "put a little something extra in your pay this week. Christmas bonus." Joe looked over, surprised. "Seriously?" Robert lowered the paper. "You earned it. Been hauling your weight and then some. Might be the first city boy I've seen who doesn't complain about blisters." Joe felt emotions rise in his chest. He hadn't expected it. Not the gesture, not the acknowledgement. "Thanks," he said, quiet but genuine. Robert just grunted, already back to the weather section. Angie smiled warmly from the kitchen. "That's his version of a hug, dear." Lana walked in from the hallway, showered, and brushing creases out of her tank top with her hand. She carried a wrapped parcel under her other arm. Her hair was braided to the side today, soft strands falling around her face. She wore a light green sundress, simple, fitted, worn like it didn't matter. But Joe's brain stuttered when he saw her. She looked effortless, real, grounded, and glowing from days in the sun. "Still not used to seeing you clean," she teased. Joe grinned. "I'm all showered." "Feel clean and brand new." Lana laughed, flopping down cross-legged on the rug near the tree. "Got you something." She handed him the small package, wrapped in Christmas paper and tied with a piece of ribbon. Joe raised an eyebrow. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," she said, then added with a smirk, "Don't get emotional on me." He sat down beside her, their shoulders brushing for a moment, warm skin on warm skin. Joe untied the ribbon, peeled the paper back. Inside was a small, leather-bound notebook with a fountain pen clipped to it. Simple, clean, thoughtful. "You always talk like you're running from something," she said, watching him carefully. "Figured you might want to start writing some of it down instead." Joe blinked. Words caught in his throat for a second. He ran his hand over the notebook. "It's perfect." Lana shrugged, trying to play it cool, but her smile betrayed her. You've got a story in you. Might help to let some of it out. Joe nodded, staring at the gift in his hands. No one's ever given me something like this before. Angie passed by with a tray of Christmas scones and joked, "You need better friends, dear." Lana laughed. He's getting there. The rest of the morning was filled with laughter, crumbs, bad jokes from Christmas crackers, and mugs of strong coffee. Robert eventually gave Joe a firm pat on the back and offered him his own battered pocket knife. Nothing flash, but useful. It wasn't wrapped, wasn't even polished, but it meant more than Joe could say, and through it all, Lana stayed close. Sitting next to him, their knees knocking under the table while Angie called out for Robert to stop eating all the apricot slice. Lana didn't make a move, didn't say anything big. But her presence was steady, warm, magnetic in a way Joe didn't know how to describe. She laughed easily, made space for him, and didn't ask for anything back. As the sun climbed higher and the house grew quieter with full stomachs and relaxed hearts, Joe stepped outside onto the front steps, notebook in hand. Lana followed, settling beside him without a word. They looked out at the farm. The golden paddocks, the distant hills, the wind gently moving through the poplar trees. A dog barked somewhere in the far paddock. The world kept turning. "You good?" she asked softly. Joe nodded. "Yeah," she waited. Then he added, quieter, "I don't remember the last time Christmas felt like anything." She looked at him, her voice just above a whisper. "Well, now it does." And for the first time in a long time, Joe didn't feel like an outsider looking in. He just felt here. And that was enough. Waterfall romance. By late afternoon, the heat had settled into the land like a slow breath. The cicadas sang lazy symphonies through the trees, and the buzz of Christmas lunch still echoed back at the farmhouse, where plates sat scraped clean and Angie had finally surrendered to a nap in the lounge chair, a magazine slipping from her hand. Joe and Lana left quietly, no fanfare. Just a shared glance and a nod. A thermos of cold tea and a half-eaten strawberry cake wrapped in a tea towel were packed into a basket, and they wandered across the sun-bleached paddocks, Buzz trailing behind until the edge of the grove, then vanishing into the shadows like a polite chaperone bowing out. The glade was dappled with light, the willow branches heavy in the still air. The stream glittered where the sun hit it just right, and the waterfall poured over the rocks in a steady, hushed rhythm, like it too had slowed to breathe. The air was cool here, thick with earth and green things. Joe dropped the basket onto the mossy edge of the clearing, then pulled off his shoes and socks, wading into the shallow pool, sighing as the cold water wrapped around his ankles. He wore the same white t-shirt, clinging to the angles of his shoulders, and the same navy shorts Angie had gifted him that morning. His skin was sun-bronzed and marked with faint freckles on his arms and nose, his hair a messy sweep of dark waves that refused to sit still. Lana stepped barefoot across the stones behind him, dress swaying around her thighs. She wore the same light green sundress, simple, soft, loose over her body in all the right ways. Her braid had come undone, and now her hair framed her face in easy waves, catching the gold of the sunlight in strands. She looked radiant, raw, laughing, real. She stretched out across the flat boulder beside the pool, lying back on a blanket with one arm behind her head, the other shielding her eyes from the light. Joe waded through the water, enjoying the coolness. "This place should charge an entrance fee," he said. "Hard to find such a lovely spot." Lana smiled without looking at him. "It's free for good people. You qualify." He raised a brow. "Even after the sheep escape?" She snorted. "Especially after that." Joe joined her, resting on his side, elbow propped, face inches from hers. They lay in easy silence for a while, the sound of the water, the breeze in the willows, and the far-off hum of insects blending into something close to peace. Then Lana turned her head to him. "You've really settled in." "I guess I have," he said. "Think you'll stay?" she asked. He hesitated. but only for a second. I don't want to leave. She studied his face, the way the light hit his cheekbone, the way his hand fidgeted slightly on the stone like he was grounding himself. And Gwen, she said suddenly, smirking. Joe blinked. What about her? She's probably still thinking of ways to bake you into a casserole and keep you in leaven forever. Joe laughed. Yeah, I'm still recovering from her Christmas Eve wink. Felt like a legally binding contract. Lana grinned, propping herself up on one elbow. She flirts with you like you are her pet project. I'll pass, Joe said, voice lower now. I'm kind of already in deep. The air changed then, softer, closer. Lana's smile faded, but only because something more serious took its place. She sat up slowly, her knees pulled in, her fingers tracing the edge of the blanket beneath them. Then she looked at him, steady and sure. I love you. The words didn't tumble out. They landed, clear, measured, undeniable. Joe blinked, heart kicking once against his ribs. His chest tightened. Not with panic, but with something bigger. Something he hadn't let himself feel in a long time. He sat up beside her, their knees touching now, and reached up to brush a stray strand of hair from her cheek. I didn't think I'd find something like this again, he said. But I love you too. Lana leaned in first. Their lips met. Slow, warm, unhurried. No rush. Just the weight of truth shared in soft breath and quiet touches. Her hand slid to his neck, his fingers to her waist. The kiss deepened, but stayed gentle, grounded. The kind of kiss that didn't need to prove anything. They lay back down together on the sun-warmed boulder, heads turned toward each other, fingers intertwined between them. Above, the sky was softening into late afternoon gold, and the waterfall whispered its eternal hush. A breeze moved through the willows like a sigh of relief. Joe closed his eyes, her fingers still locked in his. He felt like he didn't need to run anymore. He felt like he'd arrived. Hi. Before you watch the next chapter, remember to connect with J. Pilgrim. Discover the magic. Embrace the wisdom. Live the adventure. Explore the world of J. Pilgrim by checking out the links in the channel description. Also, remember that liking, subscribing, and sharing helps this channel reach more people who love fiction stories. See you in the next episode.